Hey, welcome back to Cards and Comics. And today I have a very special mail day. And for people who have been watching my videos about comic book collecting, I mentioned in one of my videos I had a special mail day coming up that I've been working on for a little bit, and it's finally arrived. So I have some really cool, Silver Age goodness here, and it's been a while since I've gotten a big Silver Age book. And here we go, Silver Surfer #1, CGC 5.0, off-white pages, origin of the Silver Surfer. I think this is one of the cooler books out there in terms of just covers. I've always thought this was such a cool cover. Hard book because it's a thicker book. But the thing I really like about Silver Surfer is, one, as far as issues go, is 1, 3 and 4 are just classic Silver Age books. You have to have them. So I have 2 of the 3 now. I'm looking for that last one. So very happy to have my first ever Silver Surfer #1. Never had this book before. Super cool. So I want to go into the comic book stuff, guys, and so if you're not a comic book fan, scroll a little bit because it's going to be a little lengthy. I got more comics than cards today, but I got some cool cards, so stick around. But this is like my favorite book I've had in a long time. Just super glad to have this book. All right, next up is now another thing. If you pay attention to some of my videos, I talk a lot about is tape and how much I hate tape on comic books or just in general packaging. So I ordered this set, this variant Miles Morales SpiderMan 28 book, and it is, you can see the COA here is number 178 of 600. Shannon Meyer, Virgin, is one of 600. So I got the Virgin. Now, one of the things that you'll see about the Virgin is on the back here. This looks like blue tape, right? And this book was covered in this tape. In fact, that's why this doesn't have a bag and a board like this book, because I had to surgically remove the regular variant from its bag and board because it was so covered in tape, and you can see the remnants. So this is not blue tape, this is duct tape. And guys, don't use duct tape on books, especially on something like plastic bag and boards, because it won't come off. I had to surgically remove this, and you can see where I had to cut out part of the bag from the other comic book, but it will not come off. Like this will not come off this book. Like, you have to cut that open, and my gosh, like, who wants to have to surgically remove your books from a box? So it's just my complaint. So I always complain about this stuff, I know, but man, it's so annoying. But this is such a cool cover, and she did such a great job on the colors and shading, and it's just a cool variant. And I know, it won't be, I don't know, these kind of certificate of COA, certificate of authenticity. My food science training just came kicking back in there on COA. But yeah, I think they're really cool books, and I'm glad I've got both of them. And again, just don't use duct tape, guys, please. All right, next up is a book that's been in the news a lot. As far as the regular cover, I purchased the Urban Legends 6 just because I love this variant cover. Really cool Wonder Woman cover. I didn't get the regular cover. I probably should have, but hey, I got this cover. It is what it is. It's number 6. Urban Legends. Never going to be a huge book. I don't think it's ever going to. It's. Over time, it's proven, like with North Star and other characters who've come out as gay or bisexual, that alone isn't enough to make the book hundreds of dollars. So I'm not worried about the value. I just thought it was cool to get the variant cover, and I got it. And it's a fun cover and book, and I know it's got some heat to it now, but it'll probably die down. All right, next up is, I announced last week I started a new collection, which is Sandman Death cover appearances, and so I got a bunch of them today to show you. This is one I thought was really cool, is Vertigo Winter's Edge. Came out in 1999. And so you see Death, and she's a central figure on the cover, and I think it's just kind of cool, how they have this cover design. It's not, an amazing cover, but it's cool enough for me because she doesn't have tons and tons of cool covers. Now, and it's just something that you don't think of too often. It's a thick book. I think it's an anthology, so it's Winter's Edge 2, Death on the cover, 1999. Really cool for me as a collector of Death covers, and this is one of my favorite. I think it's top 5 for me covers of Death. It's a Madame Xanadu number 6. You've got this kind of tarot card cover with Death holding her scythe, however you want to say it. And I just love the fact that she's got a little bobbed haircut. I think she's just super cute on this cover, and I just like that they drew her in a friendly way, not too abstract. So I really like that cover. It's really underrated. Now, the next one I'm going to show you is the one I just found. I didn't know this cover actually existed. It's Book of Magic number 4, and there's 2 copies of it in here. This is another thing I don't like, is shipping multiple comics inside one bag and board. This isn't a hugely valuable book, but you can see there's 2 comics in there. And it's kind of hard in this light, but yeah, there's 2 comic books in there. The same comic book. It's number 4 from August 94. And you can obviously see this great image of Death with her smirk on her face. And then a feather. And obviously a really nice cover. I didn't know this existed, and so hey, as I'm doing more research on Death, I would have definitely had this in my top 10 over some of the books, that I knew of for, my Death speculation. I think this is really undervalued because it's a $5 book, man. It is a really cool 1994 book with a very nice Death cover. I think Books of Magic alone, Books of Magic is a great series that doesn't get a lot of pub. And I think, that Tim Hunter character could be a big character in the future for DC. So, but again, one of my new favorite books. I'm just glad I've discovered it, and it's in the collection now with 2 copies. And last but not least, certainly not least, is Action 894, the variant edition. So I talk about this on my spec. This is, probably, of the 2 covers 894 has, this is obviously the one that's a little weaker because Death is kind of a tiny figure behind this giant castle of light. I don't know the story, but it's kind of like, it's the variant. It's harder to get, but obviously she's kind of tiny on the cover. But she's on the cover, so she definitely qualifies as a Death cover, and it's a hard book to get, so it's definitely, I'm glad to have it. And it's one of those books that I think doesn't have much in way of census grading. And, I think eventually I am going to grade some of my Death books to have sort of, to grow kind of a graded collection. And I think that's going to be the ultimate goal there. And then last but not least is a very fun purchase because I never had these as a kid. But here is Vertigo box of cards, trading cards. I believe this is from around 95, 96. And let's see if I can find an actual date here. And 94. This is from 94. There you go. And the thing about these is that there is obviously Sandman cards in here because it's all from the Vertigo lineup. And then there's this Death Sky Disc randomly inserted. I think it's like 1 in 60 packs or something. And it's just an interesting looking card, kind of ugly if you've ever seen it, but it'd be fun to just to try to open it and find one and get one to add to my collection. As a card collector, I'm excited about just opening a cheap box of cards that has a cool insert that's not really worth the whole time. But hey, it'll be fun to open this. I've never opened a box like this when I was a kid, and now going into the sports cards. So I've got a few sports cards here. I'm gonna mostly, actually, I spent, when I'm, so I just bought a big card, another big card for one of my other collections. So as I get some of the bigger cards in my collections, like I just got that, Silver Surfer, and the Action 894 was not cheap, compared to, it's probably one of the most expensive Death books out there right now, outside of her first appearance. So it wasn't like overly cheap, but when I'm collecting and I get some of these bigger books, to stay interested, in between those purchases, I tend to get I get smaller cards from my other collections. And a good target for me always is either pirate cards from the 50s that are cheap. Oops, sorry, I didn't mean to do that. Or my Griffey and Jeter insert collection. Now my Jeter insert collection is by far way behind compared to my Griffey, but today I focus more on Griffey, and it's probably 6-1 right now, or 7-1 Griffey to Jeter. But eventually I will catch up with my collection with Jeter, because I definitely want to, because I think his are really cheap right now comparatively to how popular he is, especially where I'm at. So we'll start with this card. So this is a I think 2000. I get a focus here. Yeah, 2006. Yeah, like a 2006 Ken Griffey Jr. hot numbers, right? And I wanted to talk about this card a little bit because one of my next videos I'm doing some research on. So I just posted my thoughts on the PWCC eBay fiasco. But one of the things I want to talk about coming up pretty soon is, one is, the kind of the death of the insert. Like, when did we go from cool inserts to like game use and autos being the main hits? And and I think my first initial thought, maybe it was the demise of Flair. But here is, the hot numbers insert used to be one of the cooler Flair inserts. It used to be foil and have all this cool, like, foil board and etching. And this has nothing. I don't even think it has any foil on it. I mean, it is just a paper insert. And so they've taken one of the kind of classic early insert sets and just turned it into, a bunch of Photoshop, mess. And this is indicative of how inserts went, because companies used to compete on the cooler inserts, like Donner's Elites, and you had the metal cards out of Donner's Preferred. You had all the die cuts, and you just had all these cool inserts because people were really competing on inserts. And then when Upper Deck did jerseys and then autos, it just overnight, people said, look, they don't care about inserts anymore. We're going to just do inserts and autos, and that was it. And to me, like that, I don't know, just doesn't feel like the creativity of the hobby really went down. And I'm trying to pinpoint around when this occurred, and this is 2006. So somewhere in that time period is when this occurred, and I want to kind of document like before and after, like how the inserts looked before the those intermediate years where the inserts started to really go down in quality, and to the really there was a whole period of time when all inserts were just crap. Tops inserts, Upper Deck inserts, every insert just was crap. It was either autos or jerseys or nothing. And I think we're seeing a little bit of a renaissance on some of the modern inserts as people realize case hits are cool, and Panini's really done a good job pushing some inserts, and Topps is finally kind of figuring out, well, maybe inserts is cheaper than just continuously trying to pump out Trout autos and numbered, you get 10 Trout autos in one product and that's your big chase card. Well, versus like doing something like a cool insert. So anyway, this is a cool card to kind of talk about, like that, part of the hobby, or just when this occurred. And then the next thing I'm going to talk about a little bit is vintage pricing and where we're at. Because I think we're way past time to talk about, vintage pricing. Is it how does it compare to like, February and March? And is there certain players hotter than others still? And I just think it would be a good time to bring it up again. Now here's an example, like Soul of the Game insert, which again could have been just a base set, but they got this rainbow foil effect. And again, Skybox is one of the sets that really had some really cool inserts back in the day. And I want to say this is like 94 maybe. But yeah, like this is like, one of those really cool insert sets that kind of, in basketball especially was really popular, and it just looks cool. You compare the two, just a little bit of foil compared to nothing just makes the card so much nicer. And then you get back into 1999, you get cards like this from Upper Deck, die cut, foil, etching. And this is a set Forte that nobody really remembers. And they had like doubles, triples, home runs, I think. They had different die cuts and colors. And again, this is hard to see, but it's green. It's super nice, and it's not very expensive. I try to actually look at buying a box of Forte just to open it, because I don't even remember this set. This was like in my dark age of collecting when I was, right when I was transitioning from college to working, and I really didn't have a lot of money to spend on cards. And so this would have been one of those sets I just didn't even pay attention to, so it's cool to have one card. But there's some numbered cards, I think numbered to 100 inserts out of this, and they look really cool. So just one of those sets that I kind of think people forgot about, Forte. Yeah, I mean, they're really nice. And again, compare that to 2006 Hot Numbers, which looks like just crap. Next up, again, I mentioned 50s Hall of Fame, or 50s Hall of Fame, 50s Pirates cards, 54 Gar Alley, PSA 7. Again, I just love collecting 50s cards, even if they're common Pirates cards, at least they're a pirate. And next up is, the last two cards in the video are both O-Pee-Chee cards, and if you watch my channel at all, you'll see I love O-Pee-Chees. And third year Mike Schmidt 75 O-Pee-Chee. It's really off center. It's very common for these cards, and you can see the O-Pee-Chee back, which has got the lighter color. It's way off center as well. But these cards are just hard to find centered, and so it's a 7. It's cool enough for me. It's a tough card. And then next up is a Hall of Fame rookie card. It's in the 7, but it's Goose Gossage, PSA 7 O-Pee-Chee rookie card. Really cool card. You can see that wicked rough cut on the top. That's very indicative of O-Pee-Chee cards. In the day, that rough cut doesn't really hurt you too much. So that's it. That's the video for me. Sorry, I got a little long-winded there. But, I wanted to, just talk about some of the videos I got coming up. Talk about, some of the things going on, and show off my new collections. And I hope you like the Silver Surfer one. It's a huge book in my collection. And I'll see you next time.